Well, when I was so us being the tech savvy clowns as we are, um, I went to Beijing. I was in China. I went to Hong Kong when they started the whole marches, and when the UK pretty much gave Hong Kong its own freedom back, but China tried to take them over. I was there when they had the marches, and then I went to Japan. And let me tell you, when I was in Hong Kong, and I again, I've always have an American phone, Samsung. Well, I guess it's not an American; it's more Korean, but um, Samsung from the United States. I bought my phone in the United States, and I know what it does. I went to Beijing and I hooked up to their Wi-Fi, and all of a sudden I got advertisements on my cell phone.
Huh.
I would open it up and I would go take a picture, and a pop-up would come up in Mandarin
Yeah.
or whatever. And I was like, Cantonese is the other one. I was trying to think of it, Mandarin or Cantonese, and I was like,
It's not
"What?"
tangerine.
I'm like, "What? What? What are you saying? I don't understand. Ni hao. Like, come on."
You're saying that to Bixby ni hao.
Yeah. I'm like, "What in the world?" I'm like, "Why are they putting advertising on my phone?" I'm like, "I'm connected to their infrastructure."
Mhm.
What was interesting is I had no access to Instagram, Facebook, anything Google related, my email, my Yahoo. I had nothing. I was cut off pretty much from everybody once I was in Beijing. And oh man, this isn't a VPN pitch by any means necessary. So I'm not going to name VPNs. I'm not going to say nothing, but I did log into a VPN and I was able to take a picture and post it to my Facebook or Instagram or email it to myself or use apps where I could like Telegram, Hangouts. Well, back then
How
it was
long ago was this?
Hangouts. This was in 2013, 2014
That's
maybe.
still a long time ago, man.
Well, we're
Yeah,
only talking
that's
about what,
before
6
the
years?
whole Xiaomi conspiracies and like all that stuff.
Huh?
That's before all the whole like Xiaomi conspiracies, or is it
Right?
Xiaomi? Yeah, Xiaomi, right?
Xiaomi, yeah.
Yeah.
China's been blocking things for a long time. They have their own version of Facebook. And after I logged off my VPN and I had my phone back on to normal, I started to realize I'm like it's this is interesting. Here's an interesting story. When I was in Beijing, I went to the hostel. I know people always think about the movie Hostel, but it's not true. Um, I was in a hostel. I had my own room, and they had their own restaurant, their own bar. Check this out. I walked up to the bar, and I ordered my food. I sat down, and they had this jar, this giant jar, and it was their version of moonshine. They had scorpion inside of it. They had a huge tarantula in there. They had a giant snake that was wrapped around. They had wood bark. Um, yeah, I said that. Wood bark. They had pieces of wood in there. They had like some weird looking leaves. I don't know if they're not lily pads, but some weird giant leaves in there. It was just a hot mess. It was a bunch of stuff in there. And I was talking to the bartender, and I said, "Hey, why don't you guys have Facebook?" He's like, "We don't need Facebook. We have whatever they have that's equivalent to Facebook." I was like, "Interesting."
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "How come you guys don't use Facebook?" He's like, "Well, there's a lot of people outside of Beijing that like to throw out propaganda on how bad China is." And I'm just like, well, I'm like, I know you guys are ran by like communism and this and that. We had this huge, deep conversation. And he's just like, he's like, how long have you been here? I'm like, a couple days. He's like, how many? And it's funny how he said this. Um, he said it, of course, in English. His English is different than mine English, but he's like, how many assholes have you met in China? And I'm like, zero actually. I met a few people that looked at me funny, like they didn't know if I was an alien.
Yeah.
People stopped me. I'm not even kidding you. They stopped me and asked me what was my nationality. Where was I? They're like, "Where are you from?"
Yeah.
And they couldn't comprehend that I was an American. They're like, "You don't." They're like, "No." They're like, "You're Australian. You're Indian. You're everything but American." And then they started asking me, "Where is your parents from?" El Salvador, Costa Rica. And they're like, "Where is that?" I'm like,
Yeah.
Central America. I had to pull
Yeah.
the map and show it to them. And they're just like mind boggled. And they're saying how there's so much propaganda outside of China. They're like, we're happy people. We live in peace. We're good.
Mhm.
Our ruler, our emperor, our king, like he does what he needs to do. He takes care of us. We do our stuff. He's just like, if you look at the richest people in the world, most of them live in China.
Mhm.
Millionaires live in China. And he's like, it's because of our infrastructure, how we have our technology, how we invest within ourselves, how we could say made in China. Yes, it might have been a cheaper product before because we were just trying to get businesses, but we have product stuff now that has quality. So amongst this whole conversation, I was looking at this big, huge jar thing. my version of being long-winded now. And he has a little spigot at the bottom. Everything, of course, is dead in there. It's not like they're floating around, you know.
Well, I don't
He has,
know if a dead scorpion or a live scorpion entices me more. They're both. I'm good. I'm good. Thanks.
right. It's now, and I'm not kidding. This scorpion, like I've seen scorpions, little scorpions that you could hold with your hand.
Yeah.
This thing was much bigger than my hand.
Mm-hmm.
It looked fake. It looked disgusting. You know,
Yeah.
it just looked unreal. And I
Right.
asked them, what is this? Oh yeah, this scorpion is from whatever mountains and desert of over the Great Wall of China. And like he was like telling me all the stories of where they get this stuff.
His name was Freddy.
Yeah. And my name is Freddy. Hi. And dude, he poured me a shot and he said, blessings and good fortune. And he gave me the shot and he said, don't worry about it. It's on the house. I took the shot and it was the most insane feeling I've ever felt. You know, typically when you take a shot of something, you feel the burn,
Mm-hmm.
right? This was, I felt something, but it wasn't a burn. I felt like I almost had like like before I took the shot, I felt like I might have been getting sick. You know how you travel, you sometimes get
Yeah.
laggy,
Yeah.
sick. It took all of that away. It was like it was gone. Like I felt good. I felt energized. I felt like I had a full night's rest. I felt great. I was like, dude, what the hell is in this thing? And then he goes over and he looks at, I think it was his wife, and he says something, pours another one, and he's just like, here you go. He's like, the second one is where you start feeling it.
You're like, I'm
And
already feeling it.
I'm like, good. He cheers, good fortune, good luck to your future travels, and hope you're safe and you make it home good. Took another shot. Dude, that second shot, I felt so relaxed, so good. And for the rest of that trip, like check this out. I had my luggage that was lost. When I got to Beijing, I had my backpack full of 2 pairs of underwear, 2 pairs of socks, 1 pair of shorts, and 2 t-shirts. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That night, my luggage appeared at the hotel, at the hostel. I was like, no way. And then And then we flew out from Beijing to Hong Kong the next day, and they had all those riots and everything. It
Yeah.
was peaceful the entire time. I was like, dude. And what's interesting was when I got to Hong Kong, when I turned on the Wi-Fi, they had their own little sets of ads, and I was able to use Facebook over there
Huh.
and Instagram. Which was weird. I'm just like, isn't Hong Kong part of China? It's an island from off of China, but they're not China. It was just crazy.